All right. We're back. Once again, your lovely host, the lovely, the wonderful Victoria Logan, and myself. We are here to expound and go deeper in revelation, in knowledge, in insight, in analytics, in data, in statistics.
You didn't give your intro. We're back. Who was that?
We're back. It's your boy, your host.
Not that intro.
I don't even remember.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Cam. I'm back here with my lovely wife, Vicky, and we are here, your host for the Everything Is We podcast.
I was trying to switch it up because last time, like, you knew exactly what I was going to say, so I was just trying to, you know what I'm saying,
cute.
switch
I
it
liked
up.
It. I mean, you hey.
I was trying to flip the switch.
You want to open up in song and A and B selection?
Come on, let us bow our heads.
Father God, we ask that you just allow the people to be open.
It was Resurrection Sunday this weekend. Come on, you got to use your preacher voice.
And we are back.
And the Lord said,
I don't have a good preacher voice, honestly. I can't do it.
Mm-mm.
Because when God...
Oh my God, you just destroyed somebody's ears.
Okay, anyways, I'm sorry. Hey guys, what's up? We're back. So today we are going to be we're going to be talking about a topic we've already touched on, but I wanted to piggyback on it. I think the inspo came from the last podcast we were talking about happiness chemical, serotonin. Sister serotonin. And because I'm such a nerd and I love science, even though I didn't go to school for this or anything. I just love science in general.
Because I'm a scientist.
I am a scientist. Well, I do love science. It was one of my better subjects that I was good at in school. And I love facts. I love the human body. I love studying about those things. I mean, not really studying, more like Googling, but I know stuff about it and I'd be like not knowing that I know it until I know it. And then I'd be like, wow, I know that. So the happiness chemical thing, serotonin, brought up some of my studies that I've done about oxytocin, which is what they call the love hormone that is released in your brain. This hormone creates sexual desire, but it also is very prevalent in women during childbirth and pregnancy and things like that. So it's very important for bonding. It's an emotionally bonding reaction that goes off in your brain.
Where grandson and granddad will bond.
Why do you keep saying that?
Nobody knows that commercial. You don't know that commercial?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm going to play it for you.
Oh my goodness. That reaction is important. And I really wanted to talk about that because I feel like we touched on sex before. We touched on like purity, virginity, feelings when you're in marriage and how to create intimacy and things like that. But we didn't really talk about like what the sex actually does for your marriage and why it's so important. I mean, we talked about why it's important, but not really. So I really wanted to get more in depth on that because I feel like that'll really help you guys. And maybe if you're not married, to help you understand why you should be in a strong, healthy relationship when you are having sex with someone, a relationship that's going to last, preferably one where you're married, because that way you have a foundation to grow this emotional bond with that person.
Yeah, let's get into it. So I believe the various people, conferences, experiences that I've come in contact with, and I don't want someone to see this and be like, is he talking about me? Or, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not talking about you. But if you feel like I'm talking about you, I'm not. I promise you. But I'm just saying, like, we've been to marriage
we've been to marriage retreats, yeah,
and we've been in breakout groups.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the women are in their breakout groups, the men are in their breakout groups, and you know, obviously I don't necessarily know the extent of what the women talk about. I just know what the men talk about. And a lot of times what happens is there are men who are married because we're at a marriage retreat and they aren't getting sex from their wife.
Mm-hmm.
And then they talk about the emotional disconnection, the intimacy that's not there, the relationship that's taking a toll, and it's like, man, and we will come back together with the groups or whatever, and we'll hear both sides, and there's a mediator, the pastors, and they'll talk about, okay, this is what the women said, this is what the men said. Okay, women, what questions y'all have? We'll answer. The men will, the mediator, the pastor will answer on behalf of the men, and be as objective as he possibly can, and then vice versa. And so what happens is, in various instances, there are a large number of women who are okay with thinking that it's okay to not have sex with your husband and expect the relationship to still be tight. Having this discussion kind of sparked some things in Vicky, like she talked about, and then her super smart brain started working and going, and we started saying different things, and then it started triggering other solutions and other things that she wanted to research and look up, so she didn't sound ignorant, think that she was just making stuff up. And I totally agree that sex is such an important part of marriage.
Yeah.
Because even as we talked about contracts, a couple podcasts ago, in various contracts, it's like, okay, you have to do certain things certain number of times in order for the contract to be fulfilled.
Right.
Or and in a covenant, there are things that you just want to do because you're in covenant. A covenant isn't necessarily black and white to where you have to do this and you have to do this, and it's not so choppy and so cold.
It's a decision. You make it. You do it because you want to.
You make because out of the kindness of your heart, because you're in covenant, because I love you. This is what I'm going to do to express my love to you. And a lot of times, various, and I'm not even just put it on men, because I'm sure that there are some women out there who are like, man, I be wanting to have sex with my husband and he don't be wanting to do it. And it's like, you're totally missing a huge part of the marriage.
Yeah.
In the Bible days, you wasn't married until you had sex.
Yeah.
You have to consummate the marriage.
It's a covenant.
It's a covenant. There is an exchange that happens, and that's when we talked about in the sex video. There is an exchange that happens when you are out here giving your body to just anybody.
Yeah.
And then that's where the soul ties conversation comes in, and being connected to people and having folk spirits and things of that sort. So I'll let you.
And that's why I wanted to talk about oxytocin in particular. Because we talk about soul ties as a spiritual thing, but there's actually a physical thing that happens when you engage in any, I want to clarify this because I said this in the comments on the first video we had and wanted to clarify. When you have any sexual activity with someone and you orgasm, you release oxytocin in your brain, okay? It's a hormone. It is a bonding chemical. It does not matter if he had entered in you or he was just around there or if he was... I don't have to get graphic. You know what I'm talking about. There are different things you can do as sexual acts. Any sexual act, period, that makes you feel a way, okay? You are creating a emotionally bonding experience. Oxytocin is an emotional bond that happens when it's released in your brain, okay? So while you do have the spiritual side of things, obviously you created a spiritual connection with this person when you released yourself to them and vice versa. You also did that physically. So your brain is creating an emotional bond. It is so important to continue doing that when you're married because it continues to reinforce the emotional connection that we already have physically. And if that's not happening, then your bond starts weakening and then you lose a part of the relationship that you need to continue to be connected physically. Like you start losing interest in that person. You look at them differently when you're not getting that from them. And then you start looking for that bond somewhere else.
It's interesting, not to cut you off. It's interesting that you say that because this analogy just came to my mind. Y'all know I love analogies. It's like, okay, at the beginning of the year, I'm telling on myself now. At the beginning of the year, we made a quest that we were going to read the Bible. It was a quest. It's an expedition.
It's an expedition.
to read the Bible, the entire Bible in a year. Okay. Printed out plans. I mean, very thorough.
Very thorough.
I mean, first couple weeks we was on fire. Me and Vicky was coming downstairs. Man, this is the revelation I got. Man, this is what I got. Oh my God, did you see this? Did you know? You know what I'm saying? And as life goes on, as you know, we skip a day. Okay, man, maybe we gotta get back. Oh, we gotta get back on track.
I missed a day, but it's okay.
Then you miss 2 days. Then you miss 3 days. And
it's been a week, but it's okay.
And then the days get longer and longer on your quest to stick to this particular plan. Now, I still read the Bible. I still pray all the time. But in this particular journey, this particular plan, right? When you miss several days, it gets easier to continue missing the longer you go without getting back on track with the plan. I know I missed, but man, I was busy, and then you start making excuses for why you missed.
Yeah.
And I believe it could be the same way. That's why I love that you really, really emphasize date night, and like we both have a good and great understanding that like we need our date night, and it's intentional. Like we block off the time, even if we can't do it on our typical Fridays. Like, no, okay, it's gonna be Saturday. Or if we're fasting, it's like, no, okay, well, Sunday after church when the fast's over, like we got to go kick it. Like just me and you, because it creates the atmosphere. Not to sound churchy and deep, but it literally creates the atmosphere for us to share intimacy with each other. That's outside of sex. Then because we made the time to spend time with each other non-sexually, it opens the door for us to be sexually intimate.
Yes, and when I was looking up my notes for oxytocin, there are other things you can do to have that oxytocin release. It's not just sexual. Like obviously I was talking about how it happens for pregnant women and things like that. But when you think about it, like when a woman has a baby, what's the first thing they do? Skin to skin contact, right? Mm-hmm. You have to, you start talking to the baby. Like you nurture it and you give it the attention that it needs so that you can bond with it, right? Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing with my relationship with you. Like if I want us to have a good sex life, I know I have to be affectionate towards you. We have to spend time together. I have to touch you. You have to we got to kiss, we got to hug, all of those things, holding each other. That builds up oxytocin.
Absolutely.
So when you do get to the actual sex, it's better because you already have oxytocin built up. So then the release is stronger because you have those feelings already built up.
Our bodies are so awesome. God is so incredible.
It's crazy. It's
There's
amazing.
So many things that we neglect, and we just blame it on. This is. Yeah. No. Your bodies were literally, the world didn't just blow up. The cosmic forces didn't just crash and all of this stuff. Like, have you ever dropped a piece of glass on the ground? Everything was just shattered. Didn't nothing beautiful come from that?
But I really feel like that is so important for us to understand why not anything, but I mean, everything we do could be a part of our sex life.
That literally just blew my mind.
Like it creates a storyline, if you will. You know what I mean? You don't just start at the last chapter like, all right, let's do it. You know what I mean? There's some buildup that has to happen there. There has to be in order for it to be a true, I'm sorry, I gotta do it. In order for there to be a true climax, you have to have the story before that. Like when you're watching a movie, if there's no storyline before somebody gets shot, you don't know why they got shot. You need to know why so it can make sense, so you can actually feel what's going on. There has to be some feeling behind it. That's what the relationship does. Same thing with like a happiness chemical in your brain. Like the serotonin, you can't have happiness if there are other things blocking it, right? So the oxytocin won't be as strong. It won't be built up as much if you're stressed, if you're in pain, if you're struggling with something, if you're depressed, if you're anxious. Any of those things can kind of like throw off the ability for you to have a true emotional connection with someone because you're so focused on something else. So if there's something going wrong in the relationship, like if you're doing something that I don't like, it weakens the ability for my oxytocin to activate. I can't feel emotionally what's going on if I'm distracted by something else that you did, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why when we go to these marriage retreats, some women will say, well, I'm not giving him none because he ain't do this, he ain't do this, he ain't do this, he ain't do this. I don't feel secure. I don't feel like he truly cares about what I'm saying. He doesn't listen to me. He doesn't blah, blah, blah. So then all of that pain and stress is throwing off their ability to have that connection, that emotional bond. So even if they do go on a date, she's not thinking about how much she enjoys being around her husband because she irritated.
Right, because women are carriers, and
yes, and they're
you guys
carrying
are gonna,
all of that.
Not that you guys are unforgiving or hold grudges, but it's the simple fact that, like, man, like you really did that, and like you're constantly
But we're thinking about we feel those things. We feel those things, and so then it makes it hard for us to feel something else if we're feeling something already. That is why it's so important for us to communicate, to understand one another, to express our feelings and emotions, like we talked about in the past episodes. Expressing your concerns to one another, trusting each other, building that trust, building that foundation. So when we do want to have sex, we're not worried about all of the other things that are going on, or we're not stressed about something that we did to one another or whatever. There's like common ground there so that we can continue to build that emotional bond through the sex.
Mm-hmm. Keep going. Our bodies are always letting us know what we need. Mm-hmm. Don't ignore the signs that your body is telling you. Now, if you ain't married and your body is telling you that you need sex, that's the devil. Okay? You need to.
I mean, but okay. Yes.
You need to just go ahead, turn around. I know he fine. I know she fine. But
I think
what
it's
did he
important.
say? He said, "You are cute, but not cute enough for my salvation."
But I think it's important for people, even if you're not married, it's important for you to understand this, because then it'll make sense to you why you should be in a strong, healthy relationship, preferably married. You should be married when you're engaging in sexual activity, any kind of sexual activity, because you're creating an emotional bond. You're creating an emotional bond. You are making a covenant. You're swapping DNA in the physical world when you are creating a soul tie or whatever. Basically, what's happening is you're making a covenant, right? So in the Bible days, there were covenants made. We know this. Jesus shedding his blood for us was a blood sacrifice. It was a covenant. That is how you seal a covenant, with blood, right? God told Abraham to kill Isaac. It was going to be as a covenant, but instead he used a ram. He still had to kill something in order for the covenant to be activated, because there had to be some type of bloodshed. Mm-hmm. That's what they used to do. Before Jesus, that's what they used to do. They used to kill an animal or something, use the blood as the sacrifice, right? Today, there are still covenants being made. Now, I don't want this podcast to be taken down, so I'm not going to address all of them. But y'all know what I'm talking about. It's some people who have lots of power, who do things to get that power. They make covenants. They shed blood of whatever, whoever. I'm not going to go into specifics. In my conspiracy theories class, they talked about secret societies and, their blood oaths and blood sacrifices. When you were a kid, remember what you used to do with you probably didn't do this, but I knew people who used to do this. They'd be like, ooh, if you cut yourself and I cut myself and we put our blood together,
never did that.
We can be sisters or whatever.
Never did.
I never did that because I knew something was wrong with it. But the idea of swapping blood, swapping
in the
or people like when you say like some people would promise. I think this was a pink people thing. But they would like make a promise. They would spit in their hand and shake on it.
That's also disgusting.
It's disgusting.
Never
did
that.
It's an example of why people use blood, fluid, to make covenants. Like, because that is my DNA with your DNA connecting. That means that there's a promise made. That's basically what it is, right? There's a promise made, there's a covenant made, there's a bond made, right? So when sexual acts are performed, you're making a covenant. That's why, these secret societies and things in my conspiracy theories class that I learned about, they'll sometimes do sexual acts and stuff as a covenant.
Yeah, some of y'all in fraternities and
oh my God, no,
too.
don't do it. I didn't want to go there.
Oops.
I didn't want to go there.
Even they've trained us at an early age. I pledge allegiance to the flag.
You make a pledge.
To the United States of America. And we said this every single day in school. And so then you're training your brain
to make covenants.
And anything that you're going to be a part of in a very serious manner,
you make a sacrifice for it.
There is a sacrifice and a covenant made.
Yes. So when you're having sex with someone, you're sacrificing your body, right? When there is fluid exchanged between two people, whether that fluid is going you know where, or in your mouth, or wherever, if there is fluid being exchanged, there is a bond being made. There's oxytocin being released in your brain, but also your DNA and my DNA are swapping. We are creating a bond.
DNA is so powerful. My
powerful.
doctor, I just did a spit sample. A spit sample. And she was able to tell me all of the things right and wrong with me.
Yep, your whole body.
And then when I visited her in person, we were able to validate and verify all of the things that she got from my spit sample. Spit. Not even blood. We ain't even did a blood test yet. This is spit.
Spit sample.
Your hair has DNA.
Anything on your body has DNA.
Skin, dust. When you live with somebody, you are continuing to swap each other's DNA. You're breathing in the same air that they breathe in. You're breathing in their follicles, their hair, their skin, their dust. You're breathing around it. Yeah, y'all walking around in this. I mean,
do you know how much of your DNA is in your bed? Like, it's actually disgusting. There's pounds and pounds of your skin cells in your mattress. No, but seriously though, like when you are engaging in any kind of sexual activity, like I said, you are engaging in a covenant. You're making a covenant with that person. You're creating an emotional bond, but you're also like physically making a covenant with them. You're swapping blood. Semen is blood. So if that comes in contact with any part of my body,
comes in contact.
I now have received his blood. So then now we have a spiritual bond, a physical bond. You can't just be like, okay, well, I actually don't have no ties to you, so we can be done now. Like, there's still going to be emotional connection.
Yeah, once you've exchanged DNA
and physical connection.
That's just you're no pun intended. You're in too deep.
God created it for it to be a good thing. I'm not saying this is a bad thing for us to swap DNA. This is it's an amazing thing. It's a really good thing for two people who are in a long-term marriage.
That's just the word.
It is so important for that swapping to happen. It's very important because it makes us one. It binds us together.
It continually binds us. It continually brings us together.
Continually. But you have to
continually.
It's why we take communion. Why do we take communion?
You don't want to talk about it?
No, I want you to explain
You don't want talking about it.
I got a revelation, but I want you to explain
You don't want talking about it.
But this is why we take communion. We continue to take communion all the time. Why? Because we're reminding ourselves of the covenant that we have with Jesus. Obviously, Jesus is not here physically in front of us, but the little cracker and the little juice, wine or whatever, is a physical representation of his blood that he shed for us, the covenant that he made. We have to continue to reinforce.
Do this in remembrance of me.
In remembrance. Obviously,
it
we
is
can't
symbolic. See him. It is not his literal blood.
No, it's not literal blood. It's symbolic.
Body.
But because my husband is not omnipresent, he didn't die and rise from the grave, and he not in the sky somewhere. You know what I'm saying? He's physically here. So when we renew our covenant,
she has to give me her body. That's in the Bible. I started to bring the Bible out again today, but I think it was too much for y'all last time, so I didn't bring it out. But the Bible literally says, when you become one, my body is not my own.
Neither is mine.
Her body is not her own. We belong to each other.
We belong together.
It's literally the song that popped in my head as well. We belong to each other. So even I'm just gonna say it on both parts, men and women. You cannot refuse to have sex with your spouse because you're literally saying that you own your body and you don't. I know we don't like this kind of talking. I know this sounds barbaric and archaic. The same sacrifice that we have to make. The Bible says, I present my body as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to you, God. So just like I can't do whatever I want, even though we do stuff that we want to do with our bodies all the time.
We do.
But I can't just do whatever I want and not include my wife or let my wife know, or it just don't work and have a healthy marriage. Right. I can do it.
You can do it.
But if I want to have a healthy and successful marriage, I'm not going to do that because that is setting myself up for failure.
Yep.
And a lot of us have set ourselves up for failure, and we've allowed this new age theology and the way that the culture has defined sex and success and relationships. We have totally thrown away all of the upstanding morals that we've had because they seem old and behind the times.
That's important though. It's important to understand that, because then you don't make decisions based on just how you feel. Like, I can't be selfish. This is why it's so important to not do things outside of your marriage. This is why it's important to not be, well, he don't want it, so I'm gonna just watch a little porn on the side and get this on myself on the side. You know what I'm saying? Because what happens is you create a bond outside of your marriage with yourself where you know what you like, so you can obviously satisfy yourself. That's not a problem. But then it makes it harder for him to satisfy me if I'm doing that, because like I'm not expressing to him what I need. So then there becomes a barrier there. There's a wall there now. My mind can't associate like what I really like and what I really want with him. It associates with what I can do myself, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So then like that bond is not being reinforced. So it continues to weaken. And so then I stop going to him for what I actually need and I go elsewhere, which is a problem.
Yep.
Because like you have to have something to be stimulated, right? So you got to watch something, or, you know what I mean? Like it ain't just like you just out the blue. You know what I'm saying? You're getting that from somewhere else, somewhere in your brain. Something else you're being exposed to is causing you to feel things. And
now you're putting other images, other things.
Yes, and that's how it becomes so easy to cheat. Yep. It becomes so easy to outsource sexual pleasure because you're not getting that from the person that's designed to give that to you. So now you have to go elsewhere to get it.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter who or what you get it from. You're creating a bond with that. Mm-hmm. You can create a bond with people that you watch on your screen. That can absolutely happen. If you are releasing fluid, you're creating a bond. It doesn't matter. It don't matter what it is. Our brains are so smart. We have memory banks. So like, if you know what you like, your brain is always going to source back to that. So even if like, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. Now I'm going to just solely give this to my husband. Now in my brain, when I'm with him, I will be thinking about everything else that used to get me to that point. You know, it's like when you have sex with people before marriage, like sometimes if you have an emotional bond with them, they're going to just pop up in your head sometimes because you have memory of that. You can't erase your memories.
Yes.
So then you end up laying in the bed with your spouse thinking about somebody else.
Long-lasting, long-standing connections. That's why we have to have our minds renewed every day.
Every day.
That's also why we have to, as the Bible says, cast down evil thoughts and imaginations.
Because those thoughts stick. They stick like glue.
Your memories are comprised of images. Images create imaginations.
Yep.
And that's why it's important that we monitor our gates, what we see, what we hear, what we think, what we say, what we do, what we smell. I mean, you could hear a song and it take you back to that time you were sitting in the back of the car and you didn't want to do it. And
I mean, all the time.
I mean, smells can I smelled something the other day and I was right back in preschool and I was like, what? Oh man, like you can smell certain things. You can see certain things. You can see a piece of candy and think about middle school. You can see, a jersey and think about all of these things, all of these images that are constantly being put in our brains. We have to be mindful.
You have to be mindful. And that's
you
why
have to be careful.
Boundaries are so important. We talked about this in the first sex video. We've talked about this in other podcasts too. But boundaries are so important because they keep us, while we're renewing our minds constantly and continuing to try to create those emotional bonds with the right person, those boundaries keep us from being deterred from creating that emotional bond, right? So I'll just use me as an example. I don't mind telling my own business. Cam knows I can't watch certain stuff. Like certain movies or shows, if they're extremely, extremely sexually explicit, I can't watch them. Because he knows my mind, I have a very vivid imagination. Very, very vivid. I will remember every single thing that happened in that scene
and have a dream about
it.
Where I go to sleep and don't dream about a thing.
Or I'll think about it. Like if it's sexual, it might pop up in my head while we having sex. I don't want that to happen. But my brain is so strong that it'll do that. And I know that. So I protect myself. That's why I sit in the house in the quiet all day. I don't watch TV like that. I don't really watch. If I watch movies, it's gotta just be like superheroes and stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
and for you saying that, not to think I got her in the house, she in bondage and all that stuff.
No, this is a decision that I made.
Okay, let's be clear.
He watches it without me.
Let's be very clear,
y'all
I can
favorite
see
show.
Some of y'all typing in the comments. Now, see, I already knew he was a controlling little light skinned dude. I couldn't stand him. No, put your phone down.
This is a personal decision I made because I used to be addicted to porn. So this is a personal decision that I made myself. Because I know myself, okay? I know myself. I will not watch certain things. So Cam, he can watch Insecure. He can watch that all day. I can't, personally. Because if you watch Insecure, you know it goes down.
Or Power.
Or anything
How to Get Away with Murder.
Yeah, and people
Scandal,
think I'm childish.
All of that stuff.
People think I'm childish because I can't watch stuff that's like sexually explicit like that. But I just can't. Because those images will play in my head over and over again. I don't know, people. I'm just saying that it may sound childish to you.
But you said it like you knew, like there were specific people in mind.
No, I hear comments in my head when I say certain things. So if you thought it was childish,
I think it's wisdom.
It's smart. I know myself.
Yes,
I know myself.
That's what I was about to say. I think it's great that you know yourself to that extent.
I want to have a strong sex life.
Because some people don't know themselves. Even as I was taking Gigi out, and I was like, there was several people that popped up in my head, even as the post that I just made on Instagram that's creating all kinds of havoc, and I love it.
You woke up and chose violence is what happened.
I love it. There are people that continue to make the decisions that they do. I'm not even going to say if they're good or bad. That continue to make the decisions that they do is because they don't really know who they are. Mm-hmm. They don't really know themselves. There are things in your life. There's things in my life where somebody told us,
of course,
Cam, don't do that. Cam, if you do this over a certain period of time, this is going to happen. And I'm like, nah, that ain't going to. And I did it anyway. And then I experienced it. And now I'm sorry. You have to know yourself. You have to really, really know yourself. And you have to really, really have a desire to know who you are. And the only way to know who you are is to know who God is. Mm-hmm. I just ministered. I just preached.
It's very important, though. And it's important to know your spouse, too. That's why communication is so important.
You got to communicate. You got to have intimacy.
I'm giving you all the keys to having a good sex life, bro.
Okay. I mean, I'm not going to say we're giving them all the keys. We're giving them some good ones.
Some good ones. But I feel like these are the things because over time, obviously, we've had to grow together and learn one another. And our sex life has gotten better over time.
Every year.
And it's because we've allowed each other to be emotionally vulnerable with one another. But we also continue to reinforce that physical bond by being intentional about how we treat each other, about spending time together, understanding our love languages, increasing those oxytocin levels. Like he realized at some point, it clicked in his brain. Oh, I should touch Vicky more because she likes that. That works for her. That's what gets her going. She's a touchy person. She needs to be touched. So you start touching me more. That increased our intimacy. I realized, oh shoot, Cam likes words. He likes for me to tell him things. He likes for me to open up to him emotionally. Those kind of things. So I gave that to him. That increased our intimacy. You know what I'm saying? That's how we learned, oh, we're increasing each other's oxytocin so that when we do get together, shaboing boing.
The beautiful thing about all of this is it's not like it just clicked overnight. Literally, it took time. It took time. It it took some hard seasons
Mm-hmm.
in our lives. It took some very tough seasons. Both of us individually had to go through stuff.
Right.
You know, and then we had to really learn, man, like I really gotta lean and trust in my wife. I gotta lean on my wife. I gotta confide in my wife. And I can't confide in XYZ or whoever. I gotta confide in the person who I live with.
Trust myself.
Who I lay in the bed with, who I sleep with, who I share my space, my intimate space, my safe haven. Like your home is a safe haven. When you at home,
it should be.
You kick your feet up. You have a set of rules. You have boundaries. You have a foundation. You have things that you do that everybody doesn't get to see because it's your home. And we have to do a better job of protecting our safe haven.
Mm-hmm.
And your spouse, that's who they should be, your safe haven. I should be able to, man, if I'm having a tough day, she the first person I tell.
Right.
Even as we were laughing at some of these binds, it was like, oh girl, you didn't want me to tell nobody. I'm definitely telling my man. I know you thought it was a secret, but that secret, he's included. You know, there's another post I think that says nobody gossips more than a husband or wife at nighttime before bed. Like, boy, let me tell you.
That's true.
Man, you wouldn't believe. And it's just because that's our safe haven. That's our space. I know she ain't gonna, if I tell her don't tell nobody, she ain't gonna tell nobody. If she tell me not to tell nobody, I ain't gonna tell nobody.
Who else we gonna tell?
I think this was a good topic. This was a good conversation, because we have to pay attention to the signs. Our bodies are telling us things all the time.
Yes. What I don't want people to think is, when we talk about purity and stuff and why it's important, we're not saying that sex is not important. We're not saying that your natural desires to have sex are bad as a single person. Your sexual desires are normal. However, they need to be acted on in a safe place. And a safe place would be a marriage, because you're creating a bond with someone for life. If you're not doing that, you're setting yourself up for a really big heartbreak. You're not even paying attention. Oh my God, get off your phone. I'm trying to think. I can't think when you're looking at stuff that look like that.
That's it. I don't care how hungry I am. I'm not eating these turtleback fries.
Give me your phone. You're canceled. What I was saying was, we need sex. That's the end. Sex is good, okay? You just got to have it in the right spaces. And you got to have it right. You can't just be out here raw dogging it.
Oh.
You can't just be out here, dry humping. You gotta
no hand movements while you're talking about sex.
You have to build up the emotional connection that you have in order for you to have a good emotional, physical bond. This is a very powerful connection that you're having here. You need to be reinforcing the covenant that you made.
Wow.
From the very beginning, on your wedding day. From day one, you made a covenant. You have to continue to reinforce that covenant by taking communion with your spouse.
Amen.
And by communion, I mean,
they know what you mean.
Throw it back.
They know what you mean.
I just hope that you guys are blessed, and that you guys have amazing sex lives with your spouses. That you guys, learn how to be in tune with one another. You guys sync up your oxytocin
Go on
levels.
dates.
Your oxytocin. Yes, I had a list.
Be intentional about dates.
I had a list of things.
Buy her some flowers, even if she don't like them. Eventually, like Vicky don't even like flowers. I bought some flowers home, some cookies, and some sparkling champagne.
I don't even like flowers, and she was like, so impressed.
Oh my God!
I don't even like flowers.
She only like that stuff.
I don't.
But it's the thought.
It was the thought.
It's the intention. It's the thing behind the thing.
Intentionality is key. Make sure you both are having that oxytocin built up by hugging, kissing, touching, spending time together, dating, making an effort, meeting each other's emotional needs with love languages, security, trust, and respect. Men are visual. Look good. Look good sometimes. Put some cute clothes on.
Look good often.
Often. He don't want to see you in your work clothes all the time. You don't want to see you in your pajamas with your bonnet on all the time.
He definitely don't want to see that bonnet.
I mean, sometimes we got to wear the bonnet. But
I'm just saying, like, all the time.
Not all the time.
Especially now, if y'all working from home. Listen.
Do yourself up.
Listen, one day just come home and just get your hair done.
Have
it done. Get a little wash and go. It could be something cute like this. Like Vicky, this morning I'm not trying to, you know what I'm saying? But
I looked rough.
She wasn't at her best. And, typically we have shoot days, and today would have been a shoot day. And then she was like, yeah, I'm saying my junk ain't done and stuff. So I'm like, you know what? Then I came home and I was like, okay.
You pulled it together.
Okay, I see you.
With my puff.
And I mean, it's the little things.
Men are visual.
It's the little things.
You want to rock his world? Put on something cute.
It's little things.
Put on something real tight. You know what I'm saying? Do something for that.
It could be some Lululemon leggings.
I mean, the TikTok leggings really did
She cooking breakfast.
In them leggings. Listen.
I'm like, hold on now.
You got to know what your man likes.
What's going on here?
You got to know what your man likes.
This conversation is about to take another turn. Listen, this podcast was brought to you by none other than Cam and Victorious Logan. We thank you for your time. Her name is not Victorious, but I said Victorious because oftentimes people get confused that her name is Victorious. But no, that's just her Instagram name. So once again, you can check us out on Instagram, Facebook, Apple Music, Spotify.
Apple Podcasts.
Apple Music. No. Apple Podcasts. Yes. But Spotify, Patreon, Anchor, and everywhere else you listen to podcasts. Once again, I'm your host, Cameron Logan, with my lovely wife, also host, Victoria Logan. And we will see you again next time on Dragon Ball Z. We done. We out. Love y'all.
Bye.